We are back with Basement Movie Room. We're back. It's a click in the dark. The Last of Us podcast. We're back to discuss and talk about episode 5 of The Last of Us on HBO. If you're joining us for the first time, thanks. Welcome. And if this is your returning visit, we appreciate that for sure. You may be watching us on Twitch at twitch.tv/basementmovieroom, or you can catch us on YouTube at youtube.com/@basementmovieroom. We're live on both right now, which I didn't even change the title now that I think about it on the YouTube video, so it's going to be a weird title, but I'll change it later. So, if you'd like to email us, you can email us at basementmovieroompodcast with an S at gmail.com. All right, let's get right into it. So, episode 5, Endure and Survive is the name of the episode, which is a recurring theme throughout the episode, which we'll talk about why, but what did you think of the episode?
I gotta say, this one is probably my favorite one so far.
It's very good.
Yeah, I mean, just the emotional weight that it brings to this episode. A little bit more than, in my opinion, than the past ones.
Yeah.
I mean, this one really kind of hits home a little bit.
Home is in the state of Missouri. Yeah. So yeah, it certainly does. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I thought it was a very good episode. It's very action packed, really. Well, it's action packed towards the end, but it's a lot of it moves at a clip. Like it seems to just go boom, 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 boom. It covers a lot of the game in a very short time period, ultimately. So yeah, it's probably my favorite episode too. I love the Bill and Frank episode as well. I know you weren't as high on that one, but it's pretty close for me. So, yeah, great episode. Enjoyed it a whole lot. And if you're watching this on YouTube as a short, please like the video.
Please.
We have 1 like and 3 dislikes on that video. on our first YouTube short. With
dislikes.
How dare you?
Come on.
How dare you? All right.
Dare people have an opinion.
Do you have any other thoughts before we get into the recap?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this episode. So.
It's terrific. It really is. All right, so into the recap. We open up with a flashback into the early goings of the Kansas City Revolution, which is probably their soccer team name or something. I don't know. But so we get to see the taking down of Fedra in Kansas City. Apparently, this only happened like 10 days before the events of episode 4.
Yeah, very quick.
And this episode. Because this episode essentially has this flashback and then opens right back up where they left us at the end of episode 4. So there's not a huge wait. But it shows the hunters, which they call them in the game. They're never really called that in this, I don't think. But it shows them taking down Fedra, killing Fedra soldiers in brutal ways. And later in the episode, they mentioned that the Fedra soldiers in Kansas City were pretty terrible. Mm-hmm. So it helps not feel as bad for them.
Yeah, that opening scene was... That was pretty brutal.
They were torturing guys. They dragging a Fedra soldier down the street with like 100 knives stuck in him.
Hanging a guy from the courthouse.
Yeah, hanging a guy. And then we get Kathleen, played by Melanie Lynskey, and Perry, played by Tommy's voice actor, whose name I can't remember. Lots of noise upstairs right now. Interrogating a group of people who they say are Fedra collaborators, and saying that, they're not just going to kill them, they're going to have a trial, but of course they're going to be found guilty because they are guilty, and that, they need to give up where Henry is. There's this uber focus on Henry by Kathleen, and we don't understand why. It's explained later in the episode, but she is uber, it's sort of explained that he got her brother killed, basically, in the last episode, but we get better explanation of that in this episode. So Kathleen's telling these people, and one guy comes through and says, this is what I know. And that leads them, I think, to the location where Henry was with the doctor, and the doctor getting killed, which happened in the last episode. We also get a scene of Henry and Sam with the doctor. He's hiding out with them, and he leaves them in that attic where all the food was, and goes out and never comes back, of course, because he's dead. And Henry and Sam have a bunch of canned goods to survive in the attic until they can move on, essentially. So that's... I guess the opening kind of includes all that. Henry and Sam ultimately run out of food and they have to leave. And Henry says he's figured out the patterns. And by the way, Sam's deaf in this. He's not deaf in the game, but he's deaf in this. So we get a lot of American Sign Language in this between Henry and Sam, which is a cool addition. I think it was a good addition. kind of gives a nice perspective on the outbreak from that point of view. So I thought that was
and the actor that plays him is
deaf.
deaf.
He's deaf. Yeah, it's a real American Sign Language actor. So he's a young kid. He's, I don't know. They say he's 8. That Sam's 8 in the episode.
He looks a little older.
He's probably 10. Yeah. Really, but who knows? He may be 8. So Henry and Sam run out of food, and during that time, they see Joel taking out the hunters, and Henry gets the idea that they need to work with these guys because this guy knows what he's doing.
And there's a part too where Joe looks up, and it's almost like he sees Henry in that window.
I think he did.
And that kind of goes back to how he got distracted.
And
he brought it up
in
that last episode. He was apologizing to Ellie. He was like, "I got distracted. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have to do that."
Right.
And I like how they tied that into this episode because it's a real brief look, and they make eye contact.
And Henry kind of ducks.
Yeah, he ducks down.
Ducks down.
And that's right before the guy comes in the back door.
Yep.
So
it is. So it's kind of a cool little detail. Mm-hmm. So Henry and Sam.
This show is about details.
It is. It's a lot of details.
Yeah.
And
tie things in.
In the post-episode stuff, Druckmann was talking about Mason made the decision to make Sam deaf. He's like, I wish I would have thought of that.
Right.
I thought that was kind of funny.
Right.
Funny little detail.
So he wasn't deaf in the game?
Nope, not deaf in the game.
Okay.
Yeah, just a kid. Yeah.
Just a kid. All right.
Yeah. So Henry and Sam leave their hideout. He says he knows all their patterns, and they're going to the building where Joel and Ellie went, where he assumed Joel and Ellie went, to find them because they need the help, of course. So they find Joel and Ellie. They sneak in. Of course, that brings us back to the opening scene where they have guns pointed at them. And we get the resolution of that scene where Henry's like, "Hey, I'm not going to hurt you. I need your help. I can put my gun down, but I don't trust you." And it runs into a pretty funny scene there, in my opinion, where he's like, "Can I trust you?" And Joel's like, "You can trust me." And he's like, that didn't sound very convincing. And Ellie's like, "No, that's just how he talks. He's an asshole."
Things are great. Yeah.
It's just like, and then he gets in to say something again, and Joel's got that same terribleness to his voice, and he's like, "Oh, come on, man."
Yeah.
So they ultimately do team up.
It's kind of how Bill always had the gun on him.
Yeah.
Because he's like, this guy's a jerk.
Yeah.
I don't know if I trust him.
Joel's he's a rough and tumble dude.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll stop there. So what did you think about all this?
I mean, it was a nice way to go from last episode to this episode, kind of tie everything in, bring you right back to the last scene of last episode, and you know where you're at with these characters right away.
Yeah.
And
it's a nice flashback to show us that. And the crazy thing is that was only 10 days ago. It seemed like they'd been in control a little bit longer than that, but it was 10 days ago. I thought that was a nice little detail to add that Kathleen has only been in charge really for 10 days. Because I know there's a lot of complaints out there about Kathleen. People are like, Melanie Linsky doesn't look like a leader,
Yeah, why would people follow her?
Yeah. But we get some kind of backstory on that it was her brother that was the leader of the resistance. But you get that line later in the episode, and we'll get to it, that Perry's like, "Well, your brother never did this. You did this." Mm-hmm. So I'd heard people talking about this, that she's in charge because she led the resistance. And it's not always like the battle commanders that become the best leaders,
Yeah.
It's like, but a lot of times, like in nations that overthrow oppressive regimes and things like that, they end up putting the person who overthrows that as their leader, and it works out poorly. I mean, look at like Africa. A lot of their countries have put these battle-hardened people who are educated as leaders, like Idi Amin and things like that, and that works out god-awful in those countries.
Right.
It doesn't work out. So it's like, I think Kathleen's kind of that kind of leader.
Psychopaths.
Yeah, she's definitely
and she showed hints of it.
Oh, in this episode for sure. You see
especially
the problem
further
with her
you get in. Yeah.
And even Perry is kind of like at times in this episode, he's like, "I'm not sure, but I'm still following her."
Yeah.
And, it's like, but you get later in this episode, you figure out that she's only out for revenge. She doesn't care about any of her people. She really doesn't. I think it shows at the end. She cares nothing about any of those people. Mm-hmm. She only wants the one thing, revenge. And like I said during the episode, it's like, when you're out for revenge, dig 2 graves.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, back to the episode. So Joe and Ellie agree to help Henry and Sam get out of Kansas City. And the reason they agree to this is Henry makes it clear that he knows this place. He knows, like he draws a map, and there's Interstate 35, I-670, which is the roundabout, goes around Kansas City.
And of course,
then
70.
Interstate 70, which is literally like a mile from my house. Not even a mile from my house right here in St. Louis area. So he says that at every intersection of these interstates, they've got, the hunters have men set up, so there's no way to get through on the road, so they have to go underground. And he's like, but didn't you, and Joel's like, wait a minute, you just said Fedra drove all the infected underground, that's why we don't see any upstairs. He's like, yeah, but the guy I was working with in Fedra,
I heard from a guy.
I heard that they took them all out.
Yeah.
And so Joel reluctantly agrees to give this a try. So they manage to get to the bottom of the building, and they move into the underground. So I'll stop right there. We can talk about that scene a little bit. I thought Henry is amazing. The actor playing him is amazing.
Yeah,
he's real good.
And I brought up a couple times during the show. I'm like, man, that dude is a really good actor.
He's real good. He's young.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see him in more things.
Yeah, I'm sure he's been in other stuff. This can't be the first thing he's been in. And Sam is fantastic too. Even though he doesn't talk at all, obviously he's using American Sign Language, but he's emotive.
Everybody is. I mean, this show has had it's well acted.
Oh yeah.
So very happy with. I mean, there's not been the leader of the resistance. You could say she's not what you would think, but she is what the show needs her to be.
Yeah, and like I said, I think she's just a leader by.
But it's still well acted.
Yeah.
There's not. I don't think there's been one bad actor in
this
there
hasn't
yet.
been. I mean, it's been
that
good
stood
through
out
and through.
anyway.
Yeah, it's been good through and through. So the thing I like about it is like just the interplay between Henry, who is kind of a decent guy, and Joel, who's done with being a decent guy. He's like, I don't have to be. So Joel's a big gruff guy, and Henry's kind of a more soft, like easygoing guy. Not easygoing, I guess, but he's easier to get along with, basically. And I think Ellie kind of identifies more with Sam and Henry than she does with Joel, really. Mm-hmm. And that's why she's kind of encouraged Joel to do it. And so Henry also tells Joel in this scene that he's never killed any. He said, like, I've never killed anybody in a previous scene. But he says that's not really true. I got somebody killed because I worked with Fedra. And Joel's like, I don't like working with rats. And he's like, well,
Yeah,
Sam,
what do they call the rats? There's a certain name for them in this. There's a certain name that they give them.
Which one?
Like what they call the guys that go out and get the information and report back.
It's collaborators.
Collaborators. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Fedra, and so Joel's not real fond of Henry at the moment, but he decides to go along with him. So the next scene, they get into the basement of the building and are working their way through the underground. Joel's very nervous about this. He's like, be quiet, there might be infected down here. And so they work their way through the basement, and they come upon an area with a door that's painted with a bunch of kids' paintings. And they're all like, what's going on here? So they go in the door, and they find like this classroom type setting. Now in the game, this is a big part of the game with a lot of like storytelling through notes and stuff. We just get hints of it here, but this is Ish's like group that was down there, and Ish is like a big character in the game that has a bunch of notes, and there's a whole storyline of how the hunters either betrayed them or ended up getting them killed or something like that. I can't remember, but you see this poster on the wall that a kid made, Our Protectors, Ish and Donnie, and then there's a bunch of stuff in there, and we find the comic book Savage Starlight, which is a big thing in the game. It's a collectible in the game. Ellie finds a bunch of these comic books in the game, so you collect them and you give them to Ellie. That's Savage Starlight. So Ellie and Sam kind of connect over Savage Starlight and are playing together. Ellie's like a kid here again. She's back to being like a kid, playing with Sam. They're playing soccer, reading Savage Starlight, and talking about in Savage Starlight, endure and survive.
Yeah, she learns a little
endure and survive, the sign language, and that's the name of the episode, of course, and it's well fitted to this episode. So they stay there for a little bit and rest, and then they move on. And they move through this underground. Now, like I said, for the game, that was a much larger section. I think there was clickers and stuff in that section, but we don't get any of that here. They just kind of move through there and they get out of there. So we'll stop there before I go on. So, any thoughts about that particular section?
Yeah, no, I think that like Joel is starting to get back a little bit of his humanity.
He is,
and these two kids, picking these two kids up and seeing Ellie and how they're interacting and all that. He's starting to like come back to being a regular person instead of this hardened individual.
Yeah.
He's starting to get a little softer. And
For sure.
Ellie, she's starting to get that softer side to her too. It was nice to see that, her playing with the kid. Yeah. She's actually able to be a kid and do the things that kids normally should do instead of being,
And that was another part I didn't mention here with Joel is Joel apologizes to Henry for calling him a rat.
Right.
And he says, I know you did what you had to do to survive and protect Sam. And he's like, well, that's not only it. Sam had leukemia. And he's like, the reason I collaborated, the reason I talked to this guy and gave away Michael, Kathleen's brother, that's why Kathleen's after him, I didn't mention that earlier. He tells Joel about Kathleen, the leader. He's like, Kathleen's brother, I got him killed, but it's because Pedro's the only one that had the medicine to help Sam survive leukemia. And so Sam survived leukemia. I mean, poor kid. In this situation, the world's got leukemia and had to live through that too. So Sam had a good reason for what he did. Kathleen doesn't care. Kathleen knows that reason. We found that out later. Kathleen knows exactly why he did it. And assumingly, the doctor also knew that because the doctor's probably the one who saved Sam with the medicine.
Yeah, he was in the opening scene with them.
John Gatz plays the doctor, who's great. So they move on from there. And
not the guy from Head of the Class.
No, not the guy from Head of the Class. That's a different guy. The guy who played Joe McMillan Sr. in *Halt and Catch Fire*, which is a great show. You should all check out if you're not watching that. You can get that all on Hulu or something. I think maybe Netflix. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But yes. So they get out of the underground and they're outside, exactly where Henry said they would be, and they're walking. They're walking down the middle of a street. You kind of commented like that's maybe not a good idea, but that's right from the game. They're walking down the middle of the street, and I'm like, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And a sniper takes pot shots at him. And it's like, yep, obviously. So they duck behind the car. They're all hiding. The sniper just keeps shooting at him. And Joel's like, I've got to go around and take this guy out. And Ellie's like, no, you might get shot. And he goes, no, this guy's a terrible shot. We would have already, one of them would have already for sure been dead if the guy was actually a decent shot.
Yeah.
Because they were just out in the middle of the street. So Joel sneaks around, gets into the building, and this is not the Joel we know that happens in this building, to be honest. He points his gun at the guy and says, give me your gun, wait 1 hour, and then leave. He gives the guy the chance. He's like, don't do it. The guy, of course, doesn't take that chance because the guy works for Kathleen. Joel kills the guy, takes his gun, and is looking out, and all of a sudden, here comes Kathleen and her men down the street in their SUVs. So Ellie and Sam and Henry start running and hide behind the car. The whole Hunter army shows up on the street. And Joel's watching all this. They don't know Joel's in the tower, I guess. They might know. But essentially, they have Henry, Sam, and Ellie pinned down behind the car. Kathleen gets out and yells for them to come out, or it's going to be worse. And Henry's like, wait, I'm going to come out. Just let the kids go. And Kathleen's like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And he's like, he should already be dead, talking about Sam.
Yeah.
And she's like, and I'm pretty sure the other person with you is the one with the guy who killed Bobby.
Lots of kids die.
Yeah, lots of kids die.
Yeah.
So Henry ultimately does step out. Kathleen pulls out her guns, about to shoot him. And then Joel actually took out a couple of people in a big truck and then crashed into a house and caught on fire. And as soon as she's about to shoot him, that truck starts falling into the ground.
And then you know what's coming.
All of a sudden, you know what's coming. Everybody's underground.
Yeah.
We've seen it earlier with the ground pulsating in the basement of that building. All the zombies start coming out, including like multiple clickers, lots of clickers. Joel's up in the tower, just popping guys left and right, popping the zombies. I don't see him kill. I don't think he kills any of the hunters because he doesn't need to. They're getting killed otherwise.
He's just taking out whoever's attacking.
Tons of them. So Perry's out there killing people, and he's like, yelling at them to retreat or whatever. And And Kathleen's out in the middle of it too. Ellie's running away from him, and Joel's taking out everybody he can around Ellie. And when he's doing that, she jumps into a vehicle, and a clicker jumps in the vehicle. It's a little kid clicker. It's like a 12, 13, probably a girl around the same age as Ellie.
Same age, yeah.
That's a clicker.
We were both like, oh, it's about the same age.
Just moving, doing that clicker movement, all that crazy movement that would be back-breaking for a normal human being. And Ellie manages to get out of the car. Henry and Sam get pinned under a car with two clickers after them. They're kicking and fighting, and we're both like, how are they not getting scratched or bit right there? That'll come back.
Yeah.
Ellie gets over there, managed to kill one of the clickers with her knife, which is a miracle because they're hard as hell to kill. But it does actually work. In the game, that's a thing where if you get attacked by a clicker and you have a knife, you stab them in the head and take them out.
Huh.
So in the game, that's kind of
instead of unloading ammo,
mini clips into them or whatever, mini magazines into them.
Yeah.
So she's stabbing the other one. Joel managed to get a shot off and kill the other one. So Henry and Sam get out. They're running up towards Joel, the house where Joel is. As they get right up the stairs and Joel meets them, Kathleen pops out of nowhere and is like, about to kill him. And then that teenager clicker comes, takes Kathleen out.
Takes her out. Yeah.
And Joel and all them run away, and they get away. So that's that scene. There's a lot to that scene. I didn't mention a bloater.
Yeah.
A bloater comes out of that hole and really just fucks up the situation for everybody. Poor Perry, following Kathleen, gets his head ripped clean off his body by the bloater. Bloaters are different in the show than the game, because in the game they shoot spores out, which spores aren't a thing here, but they are monstrous and really strong, and it's really hard to take them out, like more so than clickers.
Yeah, he won't be in season 2.
Not gonna be in season 2, not a chance. So what'd you think about all that?
Oh man, it was great to see, like, all the, I guess you call them zombies.
Yeah,
at this point.
I'm calling them zombies.
Yeah,
shroomers.
Yeah, seeing all them, like how they just came out of the ground and just wreaked havoc.
Yeah,
like,
I mean
they were a force to be reckoned with. I mean,
and they were talking about
no wonder the world is like it is.
In the post show, they had the guy from Planet of the Apes who did the ape movement, like how they ran in the Planet of the Apes to do the clicker movement, and that was a good choice. But they all also remind me of kind of like the 28 Days Later zombies. Because they're very fast and just run like reckless abandon. Sorry, and, almost knocked your microphone off.
You're good. I brought up World War Z.
Yeah, World War Z too, because they're fast in that too.
Yeah,
fast zombies, always the best.
And that was really neat to see. And of course, the bloater, them leading up to that from the last episode, and on top of that, Kathleen is just so worried about getting Henry.
She got all her people killed.
They could have taken care of that. Yeah. I don't think it was the same.
It was probably it's a network. It's a network.
Still a network, but she could have cared less about that and wanted to get Henry so bad.
A singular focus.
That she just forgot about everything.
And as soon as they kill all the hunters there, they're running back towards Kansas City. Yeah. That's where they're going right in. They're going to they're going to wreak havoc on all those people because those people have no protection. The walls are down.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So Kathleen basically got all her people killed with her mission for nothing.
And going back, I thought when Henry came out from behind the car, I thought she was going to pop him.
Yeah, immediately. Yeah, you said that. I was like,
that would have made her a little bit more formidable, I think. But I mean, she's a throwaway character at this point.
Ultimately is. I think bad guys are like that. They're going to be like that.
I'm starting to figure out that anybody that you meet other than Joel and Ellie right now is a throwaway character.
Oh, they're expendable. Yeah.
Don't get your hopes up or don't get invested in a single character outside of Joel and Ellie.
You should not.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, you should definitely not.
Whoever they come across is gonna die.
Yeah. That's pretty much true.
Yeah. Feel sorry for Joel's brother. Yeah. If that happens.
So one scene I kind of forgot to talk about, and it's because it's a very minor. Joel, when he's going up to the house, he looks off to the left and sees the bridge that Henry was talking about.
Right.
And I swear for a second, he thinks about just leaving and going across that bridge to go find Tommy. He does. I think that's why they showed that scene of him seeing that bridge. And he looks there for just a second, and then, boom, back on mission. But I know he had that thought.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I know he had that thought. So yeah, that scene's great. I mean, the zombie movement.
He's like, the
everything's great.
cargo's getting eaten.
Yeah, the cargo may be dead.
Time to go. Yeah.
All right. So after that, Henry, Sam, Ellie, and Joel all escape that situation and move away. And we're in a hotel with them. They found a hotel. They're holed up in a hotel. Ellie and Sam are in one room. Joel and Henry on the other. And we get another nice conversation between Ellie and Sam on this little magnet, like this little carbon copy board that everybody had when they were kids. So that's what Sam uses to write, because he writes and then you can erase it real quick. Mm-hmm. So him and Ellie are talking, and it comes up like they're talking about Savage Starlight, endure and survive yet again. And it comes up, he's asking her questions like, what if the monster's inside of you, or something like that, he writes. And he shows Ellie his leg. He was bitten by one of the clickers, and he's infected, and you can see it kind of moving up his leg. So that's one of the 12 24-hour infections if you follow the Fedra board from the first episode. So Ellie gets the idea, like, my blood, she writes my blood is medicine on it, because she shows her scar and how it stopped on her. She cuts her hand and rubs blood on his injury, and they go to sleep at that point. In the morning, she wakes up. Sam's over there sitting on the side of the bed. She goes over, touches him on the shoulder. He's fully infected now. He goes after her, knocks her out the door into the room with Joel and Henry. And Henry immediately knows what's happening, grabs Joel's gun, points it at Joel, and Ellie's being attacked, meanwhile, fighting off Sam. Henry is freaking out. He turns and kills Sam, which devastates everybody. It's very terrible. It's very tough to watch this final scene. It's devastating to know what he had to do there. And Joel knows what's happening here. Joel knows where he's at. Joel knows he's not a danger to him or Ellie anymore. He's not going to do that. But Joel knows he's a danger to himself. Before Joel can do anything, Henry turns the gun on himself, kills himself.
Boom. Yep.
Very, very difficult scene to watch. I even knew it was coming, because it's basically the same in the game, and it's still tough to watch. But I didn't remember that part very well. But I was like, as soon as it started happening, I was like, oh yeah, I remember it now.
Yes.
It's devastating. Absolutely devastating to see an 8-year-old kid die.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Like Kathleen said, lots of kids die.
Lots of kids die.
But it's sad. So Joel and Ellie go out, dig graves for Henry and Sam, bury them. And then Ellie writes, I'm sorry, on the little board, sets it on there, gives Joel Henry's backpack, and they start walking. They're going to walk to Wyoming. And that's the end of the episode.
That's where it ends. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I loved it.
Yeah, that was tough to watch, though.
Yeah.
Man. That's a very sad scene. Very, very sad. And it's sad in the game, too. It's the game. This game is emotional. When I got through playing it, I was like, I am not playing Last of Us 2 anytime soon. I just actually loaded it on my Xbox. I haven't played it.
So you haven't played it yet?
I played PS5. I haven't played it yet, but I'm thinking about playing it now.
So, as fast as they're moving along with this, because, I know they were supposed to be in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's a large section of the game.
And then, they're as far as Kansas City. Wyoming is not.
It makes more sense to have.
They're pushing it along.
Because as soon as you leave Pittsburgh, you pretty much get to Wyoming in the game, and it's like you don't see all that travel. So it makes sense that they moved it.
Judging by the trailer for next week, they're going to be in Wyoming.
They're going to be in Wyoming.
So
yeah, they're going to be in Wyoming. But
so are they keeping up with the game pace? Or are they getting ahead? Are they going to incorporate some of season 2? You think?
No, I don't think they can.
Last of Us 2.
Yeah, I don't think so. No. I think they're right with the game pace, because there's a lot after they find Tommy. There's a lot of stuff after they find Tommy. There's a whole big thing after they find Tommy, because when they find Tommy, I'm not going to get into it. I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot after they find Tommy, because they do have to ultimately split up again. But, it is what it is. We'll see it on the show. So yeah, this is a great episode. Yeah. I couldn't imagine a better episode. The last episode was like a 8 out of 10 for me. This episode is back in the 10 range for me.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah. This is...
and not that the last episode was bad. I really liked it, but...
I think this is...
on the nature of episodes.
This is my favorite.
Yeah, it's real good.
So far. I mean,
It's real good. Got some of the best
even over
best stuff.
The first episode, you know, you're like so hyped up for it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the first episode was great, but this one, for me, was tops.
Yeah, this is it. And yeah, I can't say enough about this episode. This is a top-notch episode. The guy who played Henry, again, great actor. The kid who played Sam, fantastic actor. I mean, the kid's emotive. I guess, you know, being deaf, I guess you have to be emotive, but man, that kid is good. He is really good. And of course, Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal are fantastic as usual. And fantastic episode. I really loved it. Anything else?
No, I'm drained.
Yeah, it's a tough one to watch. Yeah, we're getting quicker on talking about these episodes. It took us really only 25 minutes to go through that whole episode.
Oh.
Yeah, because we did about 5 minutes of recording before. But yeah, so that's it for the episode. Thanks for tuning in. We had one viewer, although, are you real? Because you didn't comment and you didn't follow? Come on, buddy. So,
please,
if you're listening to us on the podcast, thanks a lot. If you're not, you can find us at Basement Movie Room on any of your favorite podcast app. We're on pretty much all of them. You can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/@basementmovieroom. You can find us on Twitch, twitch.tv/basementmovieroom. At Twitter, you can find us at movie_basement. And you can email us at basementmovieroompodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening / watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, till next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I said it before.
There you go. A-hole.